We will pass on to the second presentation, Umrah and Hajj of our Prophet in Corona epidemic time. We will have Osman Nedim Yektar from Namık Kemal University Theology faculty. The floor is yours, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank the head of the Presidency of Religious Affairs and the Religious Affairs Presidency personnel and the DG as well. My thanks to all the people who endeavored for this. And there is also a meeting, a study about the contagious diseases, epidemic diseases, carried out together with our university and the Presidency of Religious Affairs. So this is the summary of that study. Rasulullah has one Hajj and 4 Umrah. In Hudaybiyah, also he went to Umrah, and he's also includes that one into the others. First of all, I would like to dwell on Rasulullah's Hajj, and during this journey and afterwards what he lived. And he started preparations and started a year before. So no person could go into Mecca to prevent any epidemic from outside. Secondly, Rasulullah also took preventive measures in the material sense. He used a road which is different from the other kafile. He chose to go through the desert. His Highness Ali and Ebu Katadiarul these were in a group, and they went through the Cidde. And he told them to get animals for sacrifice, and also to collect the zekat money. And Ebu Katar radiyallahu anh protected the people from the wild animals on the road. So that means precautions are necessary in such occasions. This practice is also practiced today. All sorts of precautions should be and are taken before the Hajj obligation, duty. So the masks and all the other precautions should be taken. And during the journey, the Prophet was going for the journey with two diseased people. There is a verse talking about referring to this event. Kabil Mülakin during a stopover, he has fleas in his head. So the Prophet Muhammad comes when he wakes up. He didn't know up that time about anything related to flea, but that day he meets with this flea. And he reads he says, he conveys the verse about related to this. If anybody is in ihram and also suffers from an illness, then fasting and ihram is not proper. So that person should not go near the animal that will be sacrificed. So not only the animal to be sacrificed, he has to he had to provide the ransom money for that. So we see that he intervenes with the situation whenever he learns about the epidemic of fleas. And later the scholars found out that it is not this flea event was not in Hajj journey. So there is a story about this. For example, he realized that that two people were not present, even though they were there before. So they understood that there is some sort of a contagious disease, and so we understand that the people suffering from contagious diseases should be isolated from the crowd. And we also know a story about two women and the order of God has reached here, she says, and the person does not have any strength even to sit upright on the camel, she says. Then the Prophet Muhammad directs them to surrogate Hajj. So Elmalı Hoca, for example, also discussed this issue in his studies. So the isolation of the people, if they are suffering from a disease, especially the contagious diseases, or there may be other people who are weak in health. Those people from Müzdelife to Mina and then to their hotel, they were transferred, and we have got some evidences that this action is carried like this. So the people who are weak in health are sent there at night, apart from the big crowd. So, and they are also sent to casting pebbles separately from the crowd. In 2013, I was the head of the kafile, and I went to Umre, and I saw that that it was very dusty around, and in Umrah, people died or some fainted. We didn't even go to the second floor. I saw that people were doing circumambulation, and the head of the kafile was there, and he had an insufficiency of breath. So I suddenly acted out and tried all the best I can do. After each tabak, there were the porches, and I was sending them to the porches because there is a clean air there. The peop the Hajis, unfortunately, suffer from diseases, and also they face with death during the stampede, especially after casting the pebbles, because from 3 floors you go into one channel, and when you're going to Mahvesuchi, and some people at that time cut their hairs, and think of corona, for example. The body gets weakened, and they are away from their hotels, and when they are diseased, they suffer, and so this situation creates danger around. They just throw the hair they cut around, so this creates epidemic. So I believe that in such times, especially when there is an epidemic around or a contagious disease, I do not send them outside into the crowd, and I keep them myself in the hotel. This is my vision about that. And another point I'd like to mention is when the place is a closed area. For example, Kabe, Osman bin Talha had been a Muslim for only 1 year, even though the Prophet conquered Mecca, takes this young person and 2 other people together with him. But there are hundreds, thousands of Sahabis around. And these Sahabis wanted to see the Prophet, and so there was a stampede. But the Prophet took 3 measures. He mounted on his camel. If you're going from Müzdelife to Mina, the camel goes very fast, and so there is no obstruction in the road. So the people who are going on duty is also very important. There are lots of duties they can carry out, and the Prophet Muhammad could have done to circumambulation, but he was sufficed with only one because he didn't want to tire the kafile, and he makes them rest in 20 or 15 minutes. And so while he was taking them to Mina and to their hotels, for example, in my case, I I, I saw that we can lose lots of people because it is a very hard journey to go from there to other. We shouldn't be very fast. Then some people may remain at the back, and so you should place the most experienced to the front, and also the one will remain at the end. And you have to consider the weakest person in the kafile, in the convoy, when you're transferring them from one place to the other. So thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much.